Alright guys, so today I think I'm going to do a little talk with you about discus. Everyone's favorite fish. Well, maybe not favorite, but one of the most controversial fish and how to take care of them. I've been doing it for about 2 years. I've raised the babies from hatchlings with and without their parents. I have a wild pair, which I will show you, and I just got a new bunch of I've got a bunch of new wilds, but I have a domestic pair that I've had for a while, and they breed a lot. Here's my breeding setup. You guys have seen this before. Setting up a new jar because they just laid some eggs. The one on the right with methylene blue in it. That's 10 drops of methylene blue in 1 gallon of water. It's set to about 82. Usually it's around 82 or 81. Yeah, 81.1. So, let's go see the other discus. So, you guys have seen it before. This is my discus breeder tank, my domestics, which I got from Carolina Discus. Really great guy, has a lot of great fish. Let's talk a little bit about discus. There's many color morphs, or whatever you want to call them. I just call them morphs, but right now I have the Penang eruption and the red spotted leopard, which the Penang eruption is a real morph, like a genetic mutation. They actually have more stress bars, I think like 14 compared to 9, and when they're babies it's really easy to tell. Maybe after I do a water change on the babies we'll look and see which one's which. So there we have the dad. He's always up front looking like a stud. He's a Penang eruption. You can see he's got spots everywhere and the blue on the outside, which it's really just a snake skin with a bunch of spots and blue rings on the outside. And the snake skin is the gene that's an actual genetic mutation and gives them the more stripes. You can kind of see his thin bars, but not really. And then in the back we have the female, which is a red spotted leopard. She's a little smaller, but really nice still, great colors. And you can see there's a batch of eggs they're both protecting, like good old parents. Supposedly, snake skins are very aggressive with fry in the tank, and I've learned that firsthand. When I used to leave the fry in the tank, he would attack the female and he ripped her side fins and gave her a little bash on her side, but now she's all better and looks perfect, as you can see. So before we take the eggs out of the tank, let's talk a little more about discus eggs. What to expect. When you get a discus pair, you can pretty much expect them to start breeding very fast, inside a month. It took mine about a week. I've heard of it happening within 48 hours. With angelfish, you know, I've got a group of angelfish and got a pair within a few days in a community tank. So it really depends on your water changes and your parameters. I leave my discus and angelfish in about water that's 40 to 60 ppms, around 6.5 pH, and that seems to work pretty darn good. I do about a 20 to 50% water change a day, and about once a week or once every other week I do a 90 or 80% water change and give them some bloodworms. That usually triggers them to spawn, but it pretty much happens every 7 to 10 days after you get them breeding. If you keep up the water changes, good quality water, most important thing, they're gonna keep breeding and they're gonna have a bunch of eggs. There we go, a little better light. But anyways guys, if you want to breed fish and make money, fish like discus and angelfish are perfect because they're having hundreds of eggs every week or every other week. It is the water quality that's really important. Anyways, discus lay a bunch of eggs, and you get a bunch of babies to choose from if you want to have your own breeding stock. Now, let's talk a little bit about breeding stock. In my opinion, you want to buy your breeding stock, your first breeders, from a breeder. because this is what happens, guys. This is the truth here. So, when someone breeds discus seriously, they have different grades of discus. You're never gonna get the best discus unless you're a breeder yourself, or you buy a retired breeder. But then again, they're retiring that breeder because they have a better one coming up. You can either get a group of discus, probably like 6 to 10, and have them in a 60 gallon, feed them a bunch, do a bunch of huge water changes, and get a pair and go from there. Or you can just buy a pair, which is a lot easier. Throw them in your own tank, bada bing, bada boom. And I mean, it doesn't happen right away, but it will happen soon, a lot sooner than any other animals. I used to breed reptiles, and that takes years, guys, years. You're gonna have eggs inside of a month. So, anyways, back to breeding stock. What happens is the breeder breeds them, they save the best ones for themselves. Discus that you're never gonna touch, they save for themselves. And then they have the premium quality, high grade quality, AAA quality, whatever you want to call them, and that's what they're selling to you. So it sounds like you're getting the best fish for that $300, $400, $500 each, but you're really getting the next step down, which brings me to my next point. Getting your own breeders and breeding for your own breeding stock is the best thing you can do, in my opinion, because you're getting to choose from thousands and thousands and thousands of babies. There's importers that win championships, yada, yada, yada. But if they're not breeding them themselves, they're getting secondhand discus to the breeder they're ordering from. If you're breeding your own discus, you have a great chance at placing or winning in competitions, just because you're choosing from thousands compared to hundreds, and those are your own babies that you're choosing from, not someone else's. So, that's my opinion. Breed your own discus. I was gonna show you the wild caughts, because that's my next step, is you wanna get some wild caught blood in your breeding program if you're serious. All morphs come from wild caughts. Everything you see is bred from wild caught. So you start with a wild caught. If you want spotted, get some red spotted greens like I'll show you. Breed them for 4 to 7 generations, and you're gonna have your own morph. It might not be a real genetic mutation, but it's gonna pretty much breed true, and you're gonna have your own strain of pigeon bloods, whatever, leopards, whatever. I mean, you can get good breeders from another breeder and keep breeding them to your own style, like ring leopards or whatever you want to do, but then again, you're not getting the best from them, and you're not creating anything that's not already out there. Does that make sense? Anyways, if you start with wild caughts and go from there, you're gonna make your own colors, and they're gonna be freaking awesome, because the wilds are more awesome than any domestics, in my opinion. So get ready to check them out. Alright guys, I don't know how well you can see these guys, but there is 10 wild discus in here, from 5 to like probably 7 inches. There's a huge one in here, and here's a really nice one coming up. These are what I believe to be Redspotted Greens. They're from the Putumayo, I believe is how you say it, river. Here we got some coming forward, giving us a little display there. You can see all their nice solid black bars and their big old nice red spots. Sorry for the glare again, guys. You can see these guys have some nice red eyes too that look awesome. Some of these guys are for sale, but I'm hoping to get a breeding pair out of them for the reason I was talking to you guys about. I want to throw some wild genes into my breeding program, and these guys are freaking awesome. I mean, they look so nice in real life. I mean, in video you can probably tell too, but in real life this is something I can't even explain it. I mean, these are some of the nicest fish I've ever seen in my life, and they're straight from the wild, from a river. People are spending years and years and years breeding these guys to look cool like the other ones I showed you first, but to me these are just a lot cooler. You could tell they're doing really well too. They're all swimming around, eating like 2, 3, 4 cubes of bloodworms a day. They're still not on flake or not wanting to take beef heart really, but bloodworms aren't that hard to feed these guys, so it's all good. Check these out, guys. Looks like there's a little aggressiveness going on in there. Hopefully we get a pair sooner than later. But yeah, take a look at these guys. I'm about to do a water change, so I'll hopefully I'll wipe down the glass and get a little better footage for you guys. But look at that. That's one of the smallest ones we have here. I leave them about 81 degrees. As with my other discus, sometimes 82, 83, but I try to keep it around 81 just because that seems to be the magic number. Keeps the heating bill down, or the electric bill down a little bit, and keeps them warm enough to be active and eat a good amount of food, but not too much. If you warm them up too much, they always want food, and they're always swimming around like crazy, and it's a little much. So I like to keep them a little cooler, even though 81's still really warm for aquarium fish. That's another point I wanted to bring up, is that discus aren't harder to take care of necessarily. Even the wild ones, like this is my first batch of wild ones. I got 10. They're adults. I recommend getting adults if you get wild, just because the adults are a lot easier. The baby discus under 3 inches are definitely a challenge. That's one thing I will say. But the adults are super easy to take care of. These are eating within the second day I've had them. I've had them for like a week now, but the second day I had them, they started eating bloodworms. They're all swimming really nice and everything, just like my other discus. I've heard they take a little while to get breeding, and once they are breeding, they don't spawn as often. But I've heard a lot of things that have come to be false, like saying discus are harder to take care of. I know that the Heckles discus might be a little bit harder, but I mean, use RO water, guys. Use RO water. A lot of people still use phosphoric acid to lower their pH, but that just creates swings, and I don't like that either. So keep your tank separate. You can hook up a drain and do automatic water changes if you want, but to me that's also inefficient because the new water coming in also goes out the drain. When you do it my way, it's 100% bad water going out and 100% good water coming in. You gotta siphon anyway, so might as well just do a water change while you're doing that, huh? One thing I forgot to mention is I did paint the whole back. I know the glare is horrible, but it's probably because of that reason. Let me go around to the back side and show you here before my bucket overflows. So we have the sides black, the back black, and the other side black. The only thing we have open is the front. That helps them stay a little more secure. The angelfish are a lot better, so if I put my hand over here, they all come because they want food. They're like puppies. But if I did that with the discus, it might be a little different. They all might start swimming away and bumping their heads, which can be a problem. And that's just one thing we don't want to do. But like I said, wilds are not as hard to take care of as everyone says. Look, I can put my hand here, wave it around. They barely flinch. So my domestic discus are actually even more crazy. I put my hand like that, sometimes they almost jump out of the damn water. This is how I started the discus. My first setup looks like nothing, but that's the domestic breeders. You can see I put a new slate in there, so the female's kind of wondering what's going on. The male's looking for food. But anyways, so that's their tank. All the sides are painted white except for the front. That's like how I like it. But anyways, so what I do is fill this guy up with basically all RO water, a little tap water, and there's a pump in here with this tube. So when this water's ready and heated, I grab this tube, put it up to my discus breeders, and I turn on the pump, and that gives them all fresh water. That's after I empty out the bad water, obviously. Alright guys, I just wanted to end with some things touching up on the discus. Pretty much like we talked about, wild discus are just as good as regular discus. If you're gonna get some, I'll go with the greens just because I've read they're a lot easier and they're the only ones I have experience with, and they're very easy to take care of. I would try starting with flake food or something that you have on hand all the time. And if they're not eating that the first day, give them a big water change, make sure you get all that out of there, and then switch to bloodworms. If they're not eating the frozen bloodworms, then I would try live. If they're not eating that, I would try to medicate your fish, maybe raise up their temperature, do some bigger water changes, and try again. They're gonna eat for you, I promise, guys, unless you get some really sick ones. Another thing is breeding. You want to get your own breeders and breed for what you like, not what everyone else likes, because like I said, you're gonna get the top quality babies for your breeding program if you breed them yourself. Feed them a varied diet. I'm not sure if I touched up on that, but I should have. Anyways, like beef heart, I have a bunch of stuff in there. I feed them a premium flake mix that I make myself. I don't make the flakes, but I mix the mix by myself. I have like 5 kinds of flakes that I mix together. From Brine Shrimp Direct, another good place to get stuff from. Cones, I would get it from Barbara if you're in the United States, or try and get one of the, I think they're called Discons, or like PVC cones in Europe. They look really nice. I haven't got my hands on one of those. Or you can just make your own PVC one like some people do. To me, they seem to not lay as many eggs on the PVC and on slates, but they still lay in hundreds. What else is there? I think that's pretty much it, guys. Keep their water above 80. I like to keep it around 81, but I used to keep them at 84, so it's not a problem. If you go warmer, they're just gonna eat more and be more active. I don't put dither fish in my tank. You can put snails or something in there if you want to help keep it a little clean, but that's basically it, guys. Do your water changes. I would suggest at least 20% a day, every day. If you can't do your water changes, I just wouldn't get Discus. I'll try with angelfish or something. They seem to be a little bit easier to work with. I can go a few days without a water change without noticing a difference in the fish. After a day or two without changing the Discus, they start acting a little lethargic, and you can tell they want that water change, and they get real happy when they have it. So feed them a lot, change a lot of water, vary up their food, frozen foods, flake foods, everything you got. Throw it at them, see what they like. Anyways, guys, like the last thing I want to say is I heard from Discus Hans. Check out his videos, they're great. He's like one of my favorite people to look at Discus. But like he said, Discus are not hard to take care of. They're just like every other fish. You just gotta do your water changes, keep the water clean, and that's it. People care more about Discus, so when they die, it's a lot bigger deal, so it makes it seem like they're harder to take care of. But in reality, they're just more expensive. So if you have a rummy nose tetra die that's like $1.50, no one's gonna bat an eye. But if your $350 male Penang eruption Discus dies, there's gonna be some tears shed, because that is something you're gonna put a lot of money and time and work into. Not saying you shouldn't put time and work into other fish. I do, definitely. I keep my angels in low ppm water. But you don't, that's one thing I miss, guys. You don't have to keep your Discus in low ppm water. You can keep them in like 300-400. Just make sure the pH isn't too high. But I've heard of people keeping them upwards around 8 pH and above 400 ppm. So the domestic Discus are definitely easier to raise in water like that. So if you don't want to use RO water, get some domestic Discus, some adults over 4 inches, and those are going to be a lot easier for you to take care of. Other than that, you just need RO water if you're going to breed the Discus, or if you have wild caught ones. I can go more into breeding Discus another day. This video is already getting kind of long, so let me know what you guys think. Ask any questions you have, and maybe in a couple weeks I'll do another video on breeding Discus, or I'll show the babies when they hatch. This seems to be a subject everyone likes, so let me know what you think. Ask all your questions, and peace out, my fishy friends.